Hello, welcome to Sebastian Loves This. This is a bit of a left turn from my first video. Thank you for watching my first video. It was great to see the reception. This is completely different. The name of the channel is very purposeful. I love more stuff, not just movies. I love movies, I really love movies, but I also love the Game Boy Advance. And so today I'm going to talk about the Game Boy Advance and my journey into playing the Game Boy Advance and the different ways of doing so. I'm going to start by saying that I don't want to get those high-end emulators. They're amazing. You've probably seen tons of YouTube videos about them if you also like the Game Boy Advance. They're great, they're beautiful, they have beautiful screens, they look amazing, they run tons of games from very high-end consoles like the PS2 and the GameCube. They're incredible. I would love to get one. I would love to have one, but I won't for now. First of all, because I already have so many consoles and I have a way of playing basically every game that I want. Like I have a pretty powerful computer for editing that can emulate a lot of those high-end consoles, and I have a lot of original hardware, and I have a good amount of current gen consoles, so there's no need for me to get more. That's one reason. Another reason is because they just keep getting better and better, and if I had gotten one like a year ago, I would be craving a new one already, because they just keep getting better. The screens keep getting better, they keep getting more powerful, and the prices aren't too bad. So I just think they're gonna keep getting better and better, so I'm waiting. Eventually I'll get one. But the thing is, I've been listening to Into the Ether, a low-key video game podcast with Steven Hilger and Brandon Bigley. Great podcast, I hope I pronounce their names correctly. Great podcast, I love it, I love those guys. I've been hyper-fixated on the 3DS and the Game Boy Advance, but I've also been hyper-fixated on their podcast. I've been listening to a lot of their episodes. The first one that I heard was the PSP one. Every season premiere that they do is a special episode focused on one console where they talk about the games of that console and their favorites. The first one that I heard was the PSP, but they also have a Game Boy Advance one. And so I've been listening to that one, and I've been taking notes and playing games. Also, let me tell you, I love the way they talk about video games, the way they talk about game design, and also their general philosophy about games, which is just playing. I'm from the school of the Mexican video game sites, which have a lot of shoots, you know? You should play this, you should play this other thing, you should play it the best way possible, or you're not a real gamer, you know? That kind of thing that feels alienating sometimes. I really like video games. I used to love them, but the thing is, I don't play that much, and I think it's because I'm very caught up in shoots. Brandon Bigley, I follow him in Wavelengths as well, and he argues a lot that you should just play with what you have. That's the mission. I want to play Game Boy Advance games. I want to play all Game Boy Advance games with the stuff that I already have. I don't want to buy anything else, anything new, not even games, which I know is controversial. I have a lot of Game Boy Advance games in official sources. A lot of Game Boy Advance games, you can't even get them right now through official sources. So, and a lot of the prices of Game Boy Advance games and any game in the second-hand market can be very expensive. So, not right now, okay? So, I had a Game Boy Advance. It's not this one. My Game Boy Advance was the blue one. It was also an SP, and I loved it. It was beautiful and it was gorgeous. The thing is, I haven't played that much Game Boy Advance in general, like that many great games. When I had my Game Boy Advance, I used to play a lot of like licensed games. I played The Incredible Hulk, for example, and I liked it, but like I didn't play any Metroid, or I didn't play Mario Golf, you know? There were a lot of games that I could have played. I played Mario World though. So this Game Boy Advance, I got it fairly recently, is the AGS 101, the one with the nice backlit screen. It's gorgeous, I love it, and I just love this form factor, right? It's so portable, it's so light, it runs Game Boy Advance games perfectly. It doesn't have a headphone jack, which it is an issue, but you can just get an adapter, so it isn't that big of an issue, but it is a bit inconvenient. I guess I could mod it, but that's a whole other thing. So yeah, great. My DS Lite, also amazing. I also got it fairly recently. It is in great condition. I can play DS games, I can play Game Boy Advance games, and I love it. It's great. The screens aren't amazing, but they're pretty nice. The issue with both of these things is I would have to go get Mario Golf, you know? Pay $40 Canadian, or get an EverDrive, which is like $100, so that I can use a ROM and play Mario Golf and any other game that I want. It is an option. I might do that eventually, but not right now. Not right now. But I love these consoles, and I will use them again. They will return. The PS Vita. Oof, I love the PS Vita. The PS Vita and the Wii U are my two big console loves. And the 3DS. The PS Vita is great. It has an OLED screen. It's really comfortable. It's beautiful. It has an OLED screen. It's amazing. It runs PS1 games natively, and PSP and PS Vita. It runs some emulators pretty well, including Game Boy Advance. It emulates Game Boy Advance pretty well, except for Mario Golf. I've mentioned Mario Golf quite a few times. I want to play Mario Golf. It looks great. In fact, I am playing Mario Golf, spoiler alert. It's really fun. It's amazing. It's a role-playing game about golf. You're in like a school of golf, and you are learning how to play golf. It's great, it's fun, and Mario isn't even in it, even though it's called Mario Golf, at least not right now. Not in the first few hours of the game. The PS Vita, great, amazing, but Mario Golf is a hard game to emulate because it has some 3D graphics. And so when you run those 3D graphics in the PS Vita, it just runs badly. I'll show some B-roll right now of how that looks like. Another thing that I forgot to mention, the PS Vita, obviously for it to run Game Boy Advance games, it needs homebrew. More on that later. The last option to play Game Boy Advance with the stuff that I have here, I guess I could play it on my computer, I guess I could play it on the Nintendo Switch Online, that's another thing, but it's too big. I want to be able to take it anywhere, and the Nintendo Switch is not very portable, as Brandon Bigley also says and agrees. And a computer is obviously, I mean, I have a desktop, so it's obviously just stuck here. So the 3DS was another option. The thing with the 3DS is that it runs Game Boy Advance natively. So you get kind of like the best of both worlds. You get the accessibility of a PS Vita, where you can just install ROMs, but you get the flawless execution of the game that original hardware gives you. And so I hacked my 3DS, which I hadn't done. I just did it very recently. And I'm running Game Boy Advance games here. And so I installed a thing where if you press the start button and the power button, you go into this very hackery menu, and I can run this thing called OpenAGB Firm. And then I just do that, and then here are all my ROMs. So I'm just gonna go to Mario Golf Advance Tour, and then it just runs Mario Golf natively. And there's no issue. The 3D looks amazing. I've been playing some great rounds of Mario Golf. Great. The only issue with this, is that it doesn't look perfect. It can look perfect. You can run it with no scaling at all in the settings of OpenAGB, but it's small. I'm gonna run some B-roll of that as well. It's small, and it isn't that big of an issue. Like it turns out to be the size sort of like a DS Lite. I played a little bit of Mario Golf like that in that small size, but I wanted it bigger, man. And so I did the scaling, the matrix scaling, which is the original scaling. The people who have a 3DS maybe have already played some Game Boy Advance games in them. There was this thing called the Ambassador program, where if you bought the 3DS before the price drop, you got 20 games, including 10 Game Boy Advance games, if I remember correctly. And those were not available for anyone else, so I didn't have them, because I got my 3DS after the price drop. The issue with those were it had like a dark filter on top, which Nintendo loved to do dark filters back in the day. I don't know why. They did it also with the Wii U. I think the NES had a dark filter on top. Why? I don't know. It looks bad. But since you are in control, because you hacked your 3DS, you can just not do that. And it looks great. It looks awesome with no dark filter. But it has a little bit of a filter on top to smooth a bit of the graphics. I don't like that. I would prefer if it was just scaled with none of that, but it is what it is. So yeah, I think... Oh, and also another thing, a weird little tangent here. I love hacking consoles. So I was talking about the PS Vita and the homebrew. I did the homebrew for the PS Vita when it was still a bit complicated, when you had to go into the computer and move files around and do stuff like that. Now, if you want to hack your PS Vita, you just go into a website and hit hack, which is great. It's very accessible. But I love the struggle. I love the struggle. The 3DS, the hack is unhinged. It's awesome. I love it. You have to go into the computer and you have to copy files and you have to open the Me editor, and then there's a point where you have to take out the SD card. So the 3DS is open on Me editor and you have to take out the SD card while Me editor is running without pressing any buttons or the touch screen. And it's like, very important, don't touch the touch screen or don't touch anything. I don't know what happens if you do, but I assume that the console would explode. And so it was like Mission Impossible. You just, it's very, you know, and then you just put it back in. It was very easy right now that I did it, but imagine you've just done a 30-minute process to hack a console and your hands are sweaty, and it's hard. It's not, but it was fun. It was very fun. That's what I'm trying to say. I love hacking consoles. I love my 3DS. I love Game Boy Advance. I love Into the Ether. And I'm obsessed with all of this. And I decided to record a video about it. Thank you for watching.